Which Side Podcast is a proud member of the Which Side Media Collective.
This week's episode is brought to us by the winner of the Fuck Yeah Vegan Life sponsorship giveaway, Kylie Roll.
Congratulations, Kylie.
She says that she wants to do a shout out to Animal Legal Defense Fund, which is an organization that works to protect existing and developed improved legal rights for animals.
We've actually had them on the show, so we'll put a link to that episode in the show notes, and you should check them out and totally support their work. If you want to sponsor an episode, all you got to do is go to whichsidepodcast.com.
Donate at least $10, because that's how much it costs us to make each of these episodes for you.
Whichsidepodcast.com. Oh, whichsidepodcast.com. Oh, whichsidepodcast.com.
.com.
Pipeline is kinda like the DC, the industry pipeline. These are days of pipe dreams. I got mine, you got yours, you got laws you can choose to enforce or ignore.
This is episode 116.
Yeah, we talk with hip-hop artist Soul.
He also has a podcast, which, by the way, I just listened to the Scott Crow episode. We talked to Scott Crow also. I guess we're twinsies.
Twins. We're also both vegan and anarchist.
Aw, we're like
Cool.
made for each other.
Yay.
We're also like right next to each other. He's just right over in Colorado. We're right here in Utah. It's like who's spooning who in this situation?
I don't know.
I'm comfortable both. I mean, as long as we trade off.
We've both been married about the same time.
It's actually true. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you might be the same person.
Maybe. But I'm straight edge and he's not. So there's a little difference at least. That's how you can tell us apart. One's cooler than the other.
There's a conspiracy going on, I'm sure.
Sure. I'm sure there is. But stick around for that. It's a lot of fun. What news and events do we have going on this week?
Well, I looked everywhere, and all I could find was, your typical free school classes, which are awesome, but I couldn't find any actions that were going on anywhere. So if I'm misinformed, tell me an action that's coming up and I can announce it or do one.
This week from the Slingshot Personal Organizer, January 29th, 1889, 6,000 railway workers went on strike to end the 18-hour workday. 18 fucking hour workday.
That's fucking ridiculous. I can't even fathom that.
Everyone who works in America, these people, you owe everything you have to them, and it's a disgrace that we don't keep fighting.
Absolutely.
I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Ask me why I give a fuck. Ask me why I give a fuck. Ask me why I give a fuck. And I'll ask you why you don't. 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 Ask you why you don't.
The motherfucking world is a ghetto. Ghetto. Over magazine, full clips and heavy battle. When the smoke the motherfucking world is a ghetto. Over magazine, full clips and heavy battle. When the smoke
I don't believe in accountability. All I believe is an insurrection.
Okay, so sweet. But earlier you were talking about your fears of raising a kid. One of my biggest fears is I didn't always want to come across as me forcing my politics down her throat, you know? And so I've never like Kate taking her to a protest or anything like that. And the last year she's been really pushing, like, I want to do this. I want to do that. You know, I want to get more active in these things instead of just, you know, helping out at the food bank or, you know, things like that. But I don't know. I'm kind of like drawn in too, because at the one time I want to be like, listen, honey, protests really don't do the greatest job on single issues like that. We need to focus on larger issues and not be single issue people. But I don't want to be that asshole to her at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I know 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds who still haven't figured that out. So I think that's fine. I think that's a wonderful issue to have.
So what scares you the most about, you know, bringing a kid up into crazy vegan anarchist lifestyle?
I guess not being able to afford it, you know, like wanting, like the kid needs something and I'm not able to provide it. You know, my work is kind of precarious. So I worry about that. That's like my biggest concern. Like I know it'd be fun, you know, I know I'd love it. I mean, I love my dogs. Everybody says having kids is more fun, which I can't imagine that.
Yeah, that's night and day, man. It's totally night and day. What's really great if you're really worried about cost, if you're looking at it like in long term, the first 2 years really doesn't cost you very much, depending on the type of diapers you use. Because really, especially if you're breastfeeding, because you just got, you know, breastfeeding diapers and onesies pretty much for that first couple of years.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm like, you know, that's like I'm super, you know, whatever. It just kind of scares me a little bit. I mean, my parents figured it out, you know. Plus, like my heroin addiction, I'm afraid that it might get in the way of my parenting. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
I'm like, I can't tell if he's joking with that one or not. So, well, you know, each to their own, I guess.
Yeah, no, just kidding. Sorry.
It probably would. If anyone out there has a heroin addiction, that probably would get in the way a little bit, you know.
Yeah, my dad certainly did, and it certainly did. So,
how was that growing up? Can I ask?
I mean, it's why I'm, you know, it definitely forged me to be who I am. You know, my father wasn't around a lot, so I, you know, grew up kind of arguing with him and around a lot of anger. So I guess that's why I rap. You know, I'd howl into the abyss for a living if I had, you know, the idyllic childhood, you know.
How is your relationship now?
He's dead. He died of a meth overdose last year, actually. And so our relationship is pretty tragic. But it's all good.
How was it leading up to that? Were you kind of estranged, or were you, you know, rebuilding from your childhood?
No, I mean, I had forgiven him. You know, we were cool. I always liked my dad. He was a really nice guy. He just had some demons, and you know, when I moved out of the house, I just decided, you know what, like, my dad's pretty cool, even though this is fucked up. And I'm gonna forgive him because it doesn't benefit me to be mad at him. You know, I just want to be his friend. And that's pretty much how our relationship was. And then, you know, he kind of fell back into pretty heavy drug addiction again. And, you know, I would call him, text him, email him. He wouldn't call me back. And so when he died, I hadn't seen him for 5 years or talked to him for about 3, but I know that he knew how I felt about him. So
do you feel that has an effect on your fear of parenting? Yeah,
of course. I mean, not that I'm afraid I'm going to do that, but you know, you make different mistakes or, I mean, or not, or, you know, I guess it just kind of makes me sad because he can't be a part of it. It would have been cool, you know, giving him something to be excited about.
Do you feel like drug addicts, recovering drug addicts get like a really bad stigma where they don't really get the you know, that either the help or the support that they kind of need?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, I was just at this, I'm not going to say where it was, but, you know, it was like this co-op and this recycling, and, you know, the person running it was a crack addict, and that person was, you know, high on crack and did a great job over there, you know? You know, it's the same thing. I mean, look at the vets, look at the homeless population. You know, of course, those people don't get any support. It's totally criminalized, stigmatized. People don't try to understand it. And it's really easy to write somebody off if they're, you know, doing heroin, but if they're a cokehead, it's totally acceptable, you know?
What do you think is like the best way, like the anarchist community, to try to, you know, either help people or support people or give them the resources that they need?
I mean, I don't really know, to be honest. I don't know shit about how to really rehabilitate from hardcore drugs. I know that you know, I've been addicted to tobacco and weed throughout my lives, and I think the best thing you can do is just exercise and take a lot of baths and try to offset that dopamine, endorphin shit. But as far as like a community, I don't know. I guess I don't have an answer to that.
It's something that I've always like struggled with, because, you know, I've been straight edge my entire life, so I've never been in that community, but I've been in favor of decriminalization of all drugs my entire life also. But I started on that weird like divide of, you know, adults should be able to make their own choices, you know, but do we want to be able to enable necessarily bad choices? And then who says what choices are necessarily bad? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think, you know, doing drugs like heroin is a bad choice, but I think smoking cigarettes is a bad choice. But heroin has a way of really destroying someone's life. I mean, certainly with a lot of the stuff we do out here, we come across a lot of people who are, you know, on heroin or meth or, you know, whatever. And, you know, I don't know, I just try not to judge people unless they're doing fucked up shit to me. Mm-hmm. But as far as like a non-AA, you know, Narcotics Anonymous approach to, I mean, actually, I know a lot of people who've gone through the AA and Narcotics Anonymous program and gotten quite a bit out of it, and they just leave the God shit and, you know, they find it useful. I think just having other people who've been through it that can tell you that can help you is probably the best thing. But again, I'm not my closest experience with all of that pretty much ended in failure. So, you know, it's like I keep thinking like, well, shit, should I have flown out to my dad's, you know, house in Panama and shook him up and been like, yo, dude, like, wake the fuck up. You know, would it have made a difference? Like, It didn't make a difference for 30 years. So I don't know. I think some people are just going to do what they're going to do.
I think it's super relevant here in Salt Lake right now. Just yesterday, we lost a friend in the anarchist community, and they were dealing with like a lot of stuff, like heroin addiction. They lost a sister and stuff like that. And so people weren't really sure how to help that person. And so it does suck. Like, how do you go about helping?
I didn't really know the individual very well, but I know that it seems like a lot of people that were really close, it was almost like a dual grieving period, because they had to, at one point, remove them from the community due to bad things, if I'm remember correctly. Yeah. So it seems like, you know, the community itself is grieving, you know, twice over the same instance. And so, yeah, it raises a lot of questions. One of the things that I question myself on right now, is I'm in my 30s. I've been straight edge my entire life. Super glad I was straight edge going, you know, through my growing up years, going through high school, you know, late 20s. So I didn't, you know, have that thing. But I also feel like people can be responsible and drink. Not that I want to, but like I used to not feel that way. So it's always like, okay, well, why am I still straight edge? So I always have to like reevaluate those internal things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. I drink a lot. I drink every day, but I just have a couple glasses of wine. I mean, I know a lot of straight edge people who, you know, later in life, they discover the glass of wine every once in a while, and it's great for them. But, you know, I don't know. I kind of feel like I don't know. I mean, I like getting fucked up every once in a while, but I definitely see the value in being really healthy. I mean, we don't think about the effect drinking has on our liver and on our bodies. And I know a lot of especially in organizing and activism, like a lot of activists are really heavy drinkers and, damaging kidneys and liver and shit. And, you never know until one day your hands are shaking and you don't know why, or weird shit's happening to you.
So, sorry for taking it so deep so quick. Jesus.
Yeah, Christ. It's like this is. I'm like, I don't know this territory at all. I'm like, all I know is.
But so, what is your origin? Like, what brought you to radicalism, veganism, anarchism?
Well, what brought me to radicalism, I would say, was probably Public Enemy, and reading like Malcolm X and Black Panther stuff in middle school. Definitely like the kind of black nationalist strain that was going in hip hop in the 90s had a really heavy influence on me. And then that just kind of brought me down the wormhole of, liking, Malcolm X and, radical ideas like that. I think when I read Charlotte's Web when I was a little kid, that made me go vegetarian. And I think I was 11.
Oh, wow.
And then I found out how they were making hot dogs, because I loved hot dogs and all my favorite foods were made with beef byproducts. And once I learned what that was, I didn't want to fuck with it anymore because I loved animals. And I think I came to anarchism. I'd been introduced to the ideas over the years, but it never, like the idea of like being over, like I always had social commentary in my music, but the idea of like being overtly political and like making propaganda never really occurred to me until 9/11. And when the towers fell, I was in New York and it just really hit me and I was like, okay, I know we did something to bring this on, but I don't understand why it happened and I don't think anybody else does. So I just started like researching stuff. And I think the first thing I read was like the Noam Chomsky 9/11 book. And then from there, I just started reading Zinn and Chomsky. And for a while, I didn't know any anarchists or Marxists or anything, and none of my friends were very political. So pretty much I just was like a bookworm, mainly reading like the Situationists, Guy Debord, Society of the Spectacle kind of stuff. And I just kept reading all that stuff. I always really liked philosophy and stuff like, whatever, whether it's Emma Goldman or Foucault, or I got really sucked into like postmodernism and thinking about the spectacle. And but I always like kind of teetered between like identifying as a Marxist or an anarchist. But really that was just because I didn't really have the proper vocabulary. I think a lot of people tend to call anything that views history or views society from below, there's like this tendency to call that Marxist. Mm-hmm. And that's anarchist. That's like Marx doesn't own that shit. It's ridiculous. And so, yeah. And so I don't know. And then like, I was just always kind of like, reading all that shit and talking about it. And then around the time of Occupy, I noticed that like all the liberals, the quote unquote liberals or whatever you want to call them, they because of the way I looked, they kind of let me into all their little like PR media groups that were like trying to control Occupy Denver. And then I just started witnessing the way they were going, specifically targeting the anarchists and specifically, like going through YouTube videos and like circling who's pushing the cops and like posting it online. And I just exposed them all. And I was like, I identify with anarchism and, this is not okay. This is really fucked up. And then I guess that was really when I started identifying as an anarchist, because I saw the way the anarchists were being targeted in Denver. And ever since then, I've just been kind of more integrating into the anarchist subculture that I wasn't I didn't know anything about it until 2011. Really, most of the shit I read was just in books.
That's interesting that you're like, hey, this group's being persecuted. I want to be a part of that persecuted group.
I mean, it's not exactly like that, but I was just more like trying to show solidarity. I was like, look, I identify with anarchism. You know, I'd never said like, I'm an anarchist. And then at that moment, I was like, the people were like, wait, are you an anarchist? I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Unless somebody says I'm not.
That's interesting because I know Jordan falls into this. He's mentioned before, and I think I do too, that I think I called myself an anarchist before I really knew what anarchism was. Totally.
I just had never met any. I had never like done any anarchist organizing. I'd never like seen horizontalism in practice. And when you're reading Chomsky and like, you know, reading Howard Zinn and stuff, they do a pretty shitty job of explaining like what syndicalism is like and what an anarchist society could actually be like. So I had never really understood how it could function. And once I understood the way that like a civilization could function, or not a civilization, but a society could function on these values, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I really saw that in practice and it completely changed my life was in 99, at the WTO in Seattle. You know, seeing that organizing, and it was like, oh yeah, this is the shit I've heard about. This is in practice. There's thousands of people and it's working. Like, we can move forward. I think that's the biggest takeaway that a lot of people from Occupy had, was being the realization that people can organize and get shit done by themselves. Yeah,
exactly. And, or, you know, I mean, I just think horizontalism and consensus are super powerful ideas, you know? I mean, there's times where like, you know, people can argue whether or not consensus is useful, but I mean, in any time I've been working with people who think similarly, it's like, if there's a couple people that aren't on board with what you're doing, then the project's going to fail if everybody's not on board. If they're, you know what I mean? If there's a minority where those people are feeling like their voice isn't heard, and there's usually a solid compromise, unless someone's a fucking asshole, you know?
Yeah, it's really true. And what's interesting, when you get in those situations, you don't want to be that person. You know, it's really, I don't want to say it's necessarily frowned upon, but you know, it kind of is. You know, you don't want to be that person that doesn't have a valid reason. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it works.
It's true. Yeah. Which some people do say that can be, you know, coercion based, but you know.
Well, I mean, if you really feel like even on a mundane thing that the walls shouldn't be painted blue, and you have a valid reason why they shouldn't be painted blue, then people
should listen.
You
should at least be heard. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, there's so many times where I'll disagree with the group. I'll voice my opinion. I'll say, I don't really like this idea. And then everybody will be like, we do. And they're like, all right, that's cool. Whatever, let's do it.
One of the things I do feel that we fell on in those type of situations are individuals that are either very shy or take a little bit longer to process information.
Yeah.
I think we fell a little bit when it comes to that, but I think that's just a matter of, you know, working that shit out. It's not that, the whole thing's a failure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think general assemblies are going to be the best way to organize things, because it's true, like those things are set up for like, you know, white males who are used to dominating every conversation to keep on dominating, and then, you know, the other power plays that people have to make to be heard. I mean, assemblies kind of, you know, are problematic for a number of reasons. You know, having like nice informal meetings though, where everybody's just talking and everyone's making sure that everyone's being heard. That's, I prefer that than a rigid, you know, moderated discussion.
I also kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I fucking hate it when a lot of anarchists just seem to be like, you know, we're so strict by guidelines. And it's like, anarchism isn't strict on guidelines. Like, that's not the whole point of it. It's one of the reasons, like, I hate the anarchist subreddit on Reddit.
You know what? I don't even look at that. But I've been on there and I've seen people talking shit about me on there. So I was like, all right. Fuck it. This is just like anarchist the&nbsp.news.org comment section. Like, I wonder if y'all are aggregating back and forth or what.
It's a huge fucking circle jerk. That's all it is.
We were just a part of a Anarchist News comment section post as well.
We thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. We're like, oh, huh. People really do listen to our show and have comments.
Have opinions.
Yeah, I mean, it's, but I also like, that too cool for school, hyper theoretical academic shit. I love that shit too,
Uh-huh.
Like a lot of my favorite people are too cool for school. I love it. It's like, I love the holier than thou position most of the time, even though I don't usually say it. I think there's value to it. It's usually right. A lot of times it's right, on some level.
I do agree there's value, especially in taking, high standpoints, but sometimes in reality it's not the best standpoint.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you got to meet people where they are, and that's the problem with a lot of people is they're not, they're so it's a lot of the shit with activism too. Like a lot of the vocabulary and the way that people talk, it's like built to be all intentional and inclusive, but a lot of times it does exactly the opposite. And, it's that, Edward Said kind of yin and yang sort of thing. Like, you push so hard to do the right thing. And then like the pendulum swings back the other way and you're like, oh shit. Like now we've developed this white LA industrial complex and, and now, there's like, I don't know, it gets super complicated. Everything is really nuanced.
So how do you take all of this and portray that in your music? Like, yeah, how do you do that?
I mean, that's exactly how I do it. I just, depending on what I'm working on or what I'm doing or what I'm reading or who I'm talking to, I just kind of synthesize the way that I'm feeling about stuff. I mean, a lot of times I'm just exploring ideas. I don't, I don't think I don't have like the perfect analysis all the time. I could say something and, say something that doesn't say exactly what I want to say. Like I made a song, many years ago, where I was like, the chorus was like, my president is black and that don't mean jack. And it was like, people were like, dude, what the fuck? And it's like, all right, yeah, I guess I need to flesh out this argument a little more, because it is a powerful symbol that, black man was elected president and, I can't deny that. So I had to like re-record the song and issue a statement and be like, okay,
That's interesting that you actually got a chance to record because a lot of artists don't really get those opportunities. One that always comes to mind is Guilty of Being White by Minor Threat. Mm-hmm. They're haunted by that to this day still.
What are they saying in that song?
The song is about growing up, being white in a predominantly black school and always being, charged with the racial crimes of, being white, but he was not, it's not his fault, but it was taken completely differently. And it was taken by a lot of white supremacists as like a theme song.
Yeah, I hate that. I mean, because my thing is like, I really, as a white rapper, I really feel like it's my role to kind of like be really critical the way I discuss race, mm-hmm. And I really, I think it's super important to recognize, my privilege in this system. And, my experience is different than, some black kid who grew up in LA, in Compton or whatever. And like, I recognize that difference, but I also recognize, I grew up with a fucked up life in the suburbs. And like, that's like, the suburbs are kind of fucking, dead zone also. But it's like, so often when I really want to talk about race, it gets like, I have to always like give myself some time to like really like think about what I'm saying. It's like, what I'm saying making the movement stronger? Are there going to be some of my dumbass, white boy bro fans who are going to listen to this and like use it to like not recognize their own privilege? Are they going to use what I'm saying to justify white supremacy? Justify white supremacy to them or something? And it's like it's really it's something I struggle with a lot, because I really want to talk about race, because it's like being a white rapper. I've had race used against me my entire career in different ways. Sometimes it's worked in my favor, sometimes it's worked against me, and so it's like I have like a specific experience growing up as like the white kid that used to get jumped for wearing his pants too low in high school, and I don't know, it's interesting.
How has that played out with you in your career, being, with being white and, a white male, but also being, extremely radical in the rap culture? Like, are they welcoming of that, or?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. When I was young, I would always win these rap contests because, I was like 14. And so I would always come into conflict with, like the other black rappers in the city, and I would get into fights, and that fucking sucked. They'd call me Vanilla Ice and shit. Someone tried to put a bomb in my locker and stab me. I mean, it was fucked up.
Jesus.
But whatever, I broke his ribs. But then after then, it's like, when Anticon, which was like the collective that we formed, it was the first collectively owned hip hop label. Everyone was white males on the label, and that's just the way it was at that time. There weren't many women making music that was interesting and fitting the criteria of what I liked at that time, or what we were doing. Was like this poetic kind of avant-garde experimental rap music, and there just weren't women making it that were good. And so we would get a lot of shit for that at first, because the first record was like music for the advancement of hip hop. And it's like, oh my God, like looking back in time, I'd slap the shit out of myself. Like a bunch of white boys talking about advancing hip hop. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But that's what I did. And it really pissed a lot of people off. But as history played out, the people who really held that grudge the hardest, it wasn't like black artists or black journalists or writers or anything. It was white hip hop journalists who would always bring race front and center in everything that we were doing. And so when I can go back and read reviews in like Pitchfork, for instance, or other publications like that, where they're so looking down their nose at my social commentaries, critiquing capitalism or whatever, just making, being so dismissive of what I'm talking about, and then applying a completely different set of standards to the new popular hip rap record by a non-white artist. And that's something I've always really wanted to address, but there's kind of no way to address it without sounding like I'm just crying about getting bad reviews or something. But it would always fucking piss me off the way that it's not like these white journalists know what they're fucking talking about. They're because hip hop is right wing. I mean, most rappers are socialists at best, but pretty much like it's libertarian right wing values. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps, fuck everyone else. And when you're not towing that line, maybe if I had more tattoos or something.
Do you feel that is changing over time? Because it seems like I'm completely oblivious to a lot of this, because I'm not in this culture at all. I'm a fucking hardcore kid through and through. But my understanding is that, the origins of rap and hip hop were pretty radical.
Right. Yeah. I mean, no, it's a really fascinating thing. I mean, the first block parties in Sorry, I just got off tour. I've been like on the road for 10 days. I just woke up. But in the Bronx, when they started doing those house parties, those were fucking squatted raves, you know? I mean, those were illegal parties. The people would just go in, set up a sound system, you know, jack power straight out of the light poles. I mean, and hip hop was always based around like bringing the community together. And then right out of that came Public Enemy and KRS-One, and even the early gangster rap was all political. It all deeply understood the socioeconomic situation it was in, and over the years, that's been gutted from hip hop. There are very, very few rappers who you can say have solid political commentary, and almost none of them have a solid analysis. You know, if a rapper's political, 99% of the time, they're going to be talking about the New World Order and Bilderberg Group. They're not going to be talking about capitalism, unless it's Boots Riley or Dead Prez.
Do you do you feel like it's just there's this huge look of you know, the focus on wealth that you can achieve?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what attracts people, you know, is these glamorous lifestyles. It's the society of the spectacle. I don't know. It's like people want to like that because it's like, you know, it's that, that could be me, you know?
I feel like it's almost like a rebranding of the same lie that they've been telling all American people to keep them in line, is that, you know, do whatever you can achieve whatever you want, kind of like bullshit, you know? But I think that the more disenfranchised communities, they get it even worse.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, and it's fucking interesting. Like in hip hop, it's like, that's what I mean though, that like pick yourself up by the bootstraps mentality is so deeply ingrained. And it's like that Oprah shit, you know, it's like, just think positively and do all the right things and you're gonna, you know, you'll make it to the top, you know, just keep at it. And it's like, well, you know what? Make your
hope board.
Yeah, make your hope board, like write your daily wish on your thing. And the problem is, what they can do is, you know, the system, capitalism, can hold up 1 out of 50 people who made it, you know, out of a pool of 1 million people. I'll try and do the same thing. They can pick the one person that made it through and say, see, anybody can do it, because this person was anyone at one point in their lives. And it's just, you know, and that goes for anything, whether you're a filmmaker or a writer. It's like, anybody can be a journalist. Look at Jeremy Scahill, or look at, or look at, you know, whoever's a really successful, great journalist. Like, look at those people. It's like, well, shit, I know a lot of awesome journalists who are not doing what they love for a living. They're washing dishes and submitting unpaid articles to, you know, Truth Out or whoever. And that's just, you know, the reality. Not everybody gets to do what they love.
You know, I feel like with new media in general, I think anyone who's trying to be creative in any outlet, it's easier to be creative, but harder to be heard.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much white noise. I mean, we're just constantly inundated with so much shit. I mean, it's insane. I really feel bad for anyone who's trying to do anything right now. I mean, like I kind of got in before a lot of the new media kicked in, and so I've always had like a pretty strong presence on social media and had a, you know, strong mail or email newsletter that I built up. But for a lot of people, it's like, especially with artists, I mean, it's really difficult to try to do art in 2015. I mean, it's nearly impossible.
And I always hate the stupid people. I don't want to call them stupid people. The idea like that people will post a video on YouTube and it'll get like 2 million views and they're like, oh, well, they're rich. But when you start looking at the money that they make, it's really like, I think it's around $1,000 per million views on average.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have no idea how that works. I opt out of all that on but I'm also not getting a million views, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, the problem is, it's like, you know, it just feels like, the shit rises to the top. It's like, you know, you can make a great song, but even your death has to be a meme in 2015. Like, you can't just get killed by the cops. You have to get killed by the cops, you know, trying to buy a parakeet, you know, or like, it's crazy how, you know, how if like, how like we just live in a culture of memes now, you know, boil it down to a picture of a cat, in a one sentence that can like grab people. Otherwise it's not a story. And that's fucking, it's really unfortunate, because it's like because there's so many things vying for our attention in our feeds, that like the only things that are like jumping out are these memes. And I feel like a lot of the, you know, stuff that's happening with social media and modernity and the way we're communicating is reinforcing that, and you know, making it harder for like, you know, like serious, nuanced conversations to happen, or, you know, a general, you know, awareness about, you know, what's happening where you live. It's like, you might know about, you know, a kid who got shot in Walmart, you know, with the rifle, but you don't know about the kid who just got shot in your alleyway by the cops 2 weeks ago, because it's not part of the feed, you know?
You know, one of the things that I'm really hopeful that I'm seeing a little bit, and I'm hoping is just the beginning, is that with so much new content out there, that there's becoming more and more specialized ways of, you know, getting that content. Like one of the great things for us would be like Vegan Feed, right? There's so many fucking vegan podcasts out there, but Vegan Feed has a pretty curated view of, you know, less than 24, I would say. You know, so it makes it easy and specialized to find, you know, if you're looking for that very specific item. So I'm hoping that those type of realms really get produced more.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I mean, that's why I love Twitter so much, because I can like cater my feed. But again, I've catered my feed, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's stuff I'm going to miss. But not, you know, not to be all doomy and gloomy. I think there's, you know, there's cracks everywhere. I mean, you know, it's just all about finding out how to compete with all the crazy shit that's out there.
You know, it's interesting because like people's attention spans only last 4 seconds or something now, and that's gone down from like 7 seconds, which has gone down from something else. It's just keeps going down with the further progression of like information that we get. So
the attention spans have gone down, and now we're coming out with podcasts that are hours and hours long.
Absolutely.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's awesome.
I think that like it's kind of a weird thing. It's like it has to either be really short or it has to be long, because that's the things that draw people's attentions. If it's somewhere in between, then they're not going to get pulled away from it.
I like long form. I'm really a fan of long form. Yeah.
Me too. I mean, that's my favorite shit. Like, you know, pull up a David Graeber lecture on YouTube, press play, wash the dishes, cook dinner. Like, that's my favorite. That's the best thing to do.
I can honestly say I think I've listened to all of the David Graebers on YouTube.
I absolutely love that bureaucratic technologies thing. The fact that we don't dream of utopias anymore is really insane. You know? Yeah.
So you were saying earlier that you don't know how to promote your own podcast, but your whole entire career has to be based on self-promotion. I don't know how. I'm fucking horrible at self-promotion. So how do you do it just for your music?
Oh, I never wanted to do that, you know? Like I started this collective back in 98, and then it kind of, I fell at odds with the rest of the collective and the way the business was being run, and pulled out in 2009. And when I did that, I had to figure out how completely relaunch my career. And so first thing I did was ran Twitter spam bots for 6 months. And then I was like, okay, this is fucked up. I can't do this. And then I just have kept going. Things I've done are every time anyone has ever reviewed my music, I just send them an email and say thanks and get their contact info so that when I put out more music, I can have direct, connection to all the journalists that give a shit. And that's been really useful for me. Really useful for me has been to have a newsletter. I think that is the number one most powerful tool anyone has for anything, is to have a solid newsletter that allows you to communicate direct with your people. And other than that, but the truth is the reason why I lament social media and the feed so much is because I live and breathe in it. It's it's how I earn my living, is by creating YouTube videos, and then people go to my Bandcamp page and buy my music or get it on iTunes or whatever. And so I'm constantly, producing things to keep people's attention, and to generate interest in my music. And I'm constantly tweaking that and reevaluating that based on, what kind of feedback I'm getting and what kind of impact it's having. And I have to balance that with am I having fun? And so I'm always making sure that I'm enjoying myself and that I feel good about what I'm doing. And as long as I'm enjoying myself, I'm in a good space. And so my biggest thing lately has been really, really trying to push back against social media and using it, because it's so habit forming. I realize I need to stop bringing my cell phone in when I'm taking a shit. I need to just sit there, and I need to learn to just be quiet sometimes, and to just be silent and not be stimulated. I feel I'm because of the amount of time I spend in front of a computer promoting my music. I feel it sucking the soul from me. But the other thing is it's also, I'm giving my power to Facebook. I'm giving my power to Twitter and all these platforms that inevitably don't care about me. And at any point, they can start charging me for their services, which is what Facebook does now. If I want everyone to see my stuff, I have to pay. And that's really fucked up. And then it's precarious also, because I'm I don't believe in capitalism. I want to smash it, but it's at the same time, I'm a DIY artist that lives off art. And if I don't produce, I can't eat,
Well, it's that catch-22 of we all hate capitalism, but we live in capitalism right now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we can't do anything different until there is something different almost.
Yeah, but again, that's not entirely true. I could make decisions to live outside of it, but I like having nice things. I like playing video games and watching, Xbox. I like having my own studio to work out of. I like gardening in my yard,
I hear people bring up that argument if you can live out of it, but I don't really think you can. I think it's too global now to truly live outside of capitalism. I think you can minimize your reliance on capitalism, but I don't think you can live outside of it anymore.
Yeah, I don't think you really. I'm sure someone can. I'm sure, if maybe there's an abandoned island somewhere and people can go to live there, but you're still going to need oil to get there, and once you're there, you're going to need, penicillin.
And then it also brings up the whole idea of, is that a viable option for more than a handful of people,
Right. It's like those Earth ships in Taos. They're so awesome, but it's and they're great, but it's how many people can afford to live in the middle of nowhere and drop $200,000 building a house out of tires? Not many people,
But they are really fucking cool.
Yeah.
They're incredible. They're incredible.
Well, I recently watched a documentary called, I think it was The Galapagos Affair, and it's about a couple that decided to go to the Galapagos Islands and live there because they wanted to get away from society. And then people started moving in to the thing. A lot of stuff happened. People died, and it didn't work out.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And it was still controlled by the Ecuadorian government, even though no one lived there. And so it's like you really can't get away from government, even on an isolated shithole of an island.
To my knowledge, and this could be wrong, there's only one island in the entire world that's not actually governed by a recognizable government, and that's only because there's an indigenous tribe there that every nation has said we won't bother them.
Huh, where's that? Papua New Guinea?
No, I want to say it's close to Australia, but I'd have to pull it up and find out exactly what the name is.
I mean, one of the coolest things I've seen in the last few years is I went to Tarnac on this last tour. Do y'all know about Tarnac?
Never heard of it.
Are you familiar with like the Coming Insurrection or like the writings of like Tikkun or the Invisible Committee?
I'm
not.
so.
No.
Oh God, it's some of the best shit I've read. It's really, really great stuff. Kind of from an anarcho-communist, but it's non-sectarian. They just kind of put it out there. But it's really great stuff. But what they did was they all moved to a medieval village in France that was underpopulated. And so there's like 800 vacancies in this tiny village. And then a whole bunch of people just started settling it and then buying up land in the woods on the outskirts of the city. And I think collectively, this group has like what looks to me like 20 square miles.
Oh my God.
And then they just started building like these 2-story kind of tiny houses everywhere. And they're building up their own town halls like on this property. And it's a fucking amazing project. I mean, they have giant farms and I don't know, I just thought it was cool. I thought that was a cool idea. Like find a rundown city instead of like building a commune, or like escaping to a commune, like go take over a city, take over a tiny little town that's like run down and then build power from there. And then, so then that place becomes like this spot where when all like all the resistance is happening in France, like people are going in and out of there and they have a place to stay and they have like a library. And I mean, it's a really awesome project. If y'all ever make it out to France, highly recommend going there and just seeing what they're doing.
That's amazing.
I love it. Cause I mean, where we live, there's so many shitty little towns on the borders where it's totally run down and you have to like drive through these little border towns like Wassenberg, Colorado or whatever. And it would be so easy to do that. And it's like, if I get driven out of Denver, I might advocate for something like that. It could be really cool.
Another good possibility would be old mining towns where the mines have shut down. They usually have pretty decent infrastructure, but no one living there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for that stuff in the Four Corners region for sure.
Oh yeah, totally. I used to play in old uranium mines in that area.
Oh, great. Literally?
Yeah, literally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You're still here, though. You're still here.
Yeah,
And you're the bomb.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
Oh, God, that was just bad.
Yeah,
that was just bad. No, when you earlier were talking about not giving yourself any downtime, and I've been actually reading about that a lot lately, about how our minds need that downtime for self-reflection, that we don't give ourselves that time to really just self-reflect on what we're doing in our daily lives, solve major problems. It doesn't help us. It causes problems with de-stressing because we keep our minds busy all the time.
Yeah, one of the things I started doing is on tour. When I'd go on tour, I would, if other people would be snoring, it would really bother me in the room. So I would always bring headphones on tour and I would sleep like listening to like TTC lectures or, whatever, like books on tape. Like sometimes like I've had like Neuromancer on audiobook for like 4 tours in a row and I don't even listen to it. It's just like the white noise just puts me to sleep. Mm-hmm. It's fucking, but I started to realize like I'm fucking myself up. Like I never have any time where I'm not processing information, and I need to like slow down. You know, it's tough. I mean, for me, it's something I'm really like, I have to like struggle to like, when I'm like, you know, I'd be like making music, and it's really easy for me to like have like a window open where I'm like reading something as I'm listening to my mix down back. And it's like, you know, I need to just be focusing on making a song. I can't be like making a song and then reading some essay at the same time. But it's fucking like we're being like conditioned for this kind of behavior. And I was just reading this article about like the myth of multitasking, about how like we're not actually multitasking, like the way your brain works, like the part of your brain that has to process tasks is also the part of your brain that's like the most easily distracted. And so like you're not actually multitasking. You're like starting and stopping and starting and stopping. It's like it reminds me of like a record, and you're just like dropping the needle all over the place, and it's like you're gonna fuck your turntable up like that, you know.
I'm really bad if I'm working on anything. I always have multiple stimuli coming in, whether that's music, whether that's talk radio or podcasts, or I always have multiple like things going on. And like, it's so bad that if I want to study, I've gotten to the habit that if I need to actually study for something, I have to have really loud, like hardcore music, and I white noise it out, and that allows me to focus. Otherwise I can't focus. It's really fucking weird. I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah. Well, part of having a problem is admitting you have one. That's where I'm at that phase where I'm like, I just want to like, right now I'm thinking and talking a lot about this because I want to like acknowledge the fact that I have a fucking problem with technology and stimuli and all this in modernity. Like I just want to train myself to read again. Like it's hard for me to read more than one chapter of a book.
Well, I get a lot of shit from my wife because I'm on the Friends of AK Press, so I get a book or two every goddamn month. They're amazing books. In the 3 years I've been doing it so far, I think I've read 3.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. I've collected so many awesome books, and it's almost like, it's like, okay, am I going to read my books? The book stack's getting so high, and then it's like you start meeting people and making all these friends that are writing awesome books, and then you really want to read those books, and then then I'm like backlogged on like the homies books, and I'm just like, oh shit, I'm a piece of shit. I need to spend 2 hours reading every day just to like, I don't know, to like resist, like when reading is an act of resistance against the information overload. You're
one of the things that me and my wife have talked about is getting rid of all screens in our room. So, TVs, no phones, no tablets, just fucking nothing. And we both agree it's a good idea, but neither one has taken the step of actually doing anything about it yet.
You know what me and my wife do? We go on tech-free vacations. So like when we'll like go away somewhere, we won't bring any technology with us. And that's like, and what's crazy is like you start to feel like you're 12 again after like a couple days, and it's like, God, I'm so fucked up.
We don't do TV in the room, and really when we go to bed, we just put the phones away and they're done, and that's nice. But yeah,
that sounds like a dream.
So you're saying that you're better than us?
Well, yeah, naturally.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
but Netflix doesn't count, right?
Yeah, no, we watch Netflix out in the living room until like midnight or whenever,
Yeah,
and
just
then
leave the door open. See, what you need to do is just leave the door open.
Yeah, no, TV's not in the room; it's in the hallway. It's fine.
And then you got an AM radio playing NPR outside of the window of your bedroom.
Exactly.
See, I know how to fucking game the system.
See, and this is like what's really bad for me. Ever since I was a little kid, I fell asleep listening to AM radio. Like I was introduced to the fucking reptilians because of Coast to Coast when I was, preteen.
Art Bell for life.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
can I get that on my knuckles?
Art Bell for life.
I mean, on the real, like this, like on some real shit, like what is the anarchist position on aliens?
As far as do they exist, or how do we interact with them?
You know, you just don't hear a lot of radicals talking about alien life. Like, people poo-poo it, and you know, I think there's something there.
Realistically, I think that it's completely plausible that there's life outside of Earth.
I mean, shouldn't we be viewing Star Trek as the model anarchist society anyways?
I don't know. It's pretty. I don't know. It's based around the military, right? It's hierarchical. I never fuck with Star Trek. I can't speak on it.
They view it as exploration with power.
I don't know, but if you're going to choose Star Trek, Star Wars, or Battlestar Galactica...
I'd say Battlestar Galactica is way more anarchist.
No way.
Oh, come on. I totally think so. I mean, I get the hierarchical organization.
Well, you're talking to a Cylon, remember?
Do you remember when the mutiny happened? Like, you know, when the Marxist rebellion was happening with all the workers on strike?
Okay,
and,
yeah.
You know, Adama was never afraid to lay the fucking gauntlet down when he had to. Let's not forget what happened on that mining colony. They gunned down those workers.
Okay,
Ooh,
but you know, I will kind of go back to like what Paul Watson has always said, you know, is that on a ship there is no democracy. There is no free, like, there has to be a hierarchical structure to the organization of like that ship. But when you go to the actual how the people organize themselves after, I think that is a lot more communal. I mean, come on, they have unisex bathrooms.
No, there's a lot of great. I mean, Battlestar Galactica is literally my favorite show of all time. I love it. I've probably watched it 3 times. But, yeah, I love it. But, you know, I mean, you really want to talk. Have you all ever read the Culture series? Do you know about that?
I don't think
I think I just acknowledged I don't read, so.
Ian Banks. This is like based on post-scarcity anarchism. And it's a whole civilization in the future. There's no state, no cops, no coercion. And, you know, people start getting really bored. And so they invent these complex games. And then out of that kind of comes like this idea of like, okay, well, we can't like go around and invade other planets. But if we see planets where there's like, you know, a dictatorship or super oppressive government, like we can somehow like insert ourselves into the situation and kind of like provide analysis and help nudge things in the proper direction. It's a great, to me, I love it because it's so utopian. I feel like it picks up the David Graeber challenge and actually talks about like what it would be like in space. And I just love thinking about that shit. That's why I like reading, I like listening to stuff about like UFO disclosure or whatever, even though a lot of it's bullshit. It's still hella fascinating to me. Like, space is fucking fun to think about.
I think conspiracy theories in general are also just fun to think about.
You are a conspiracy and dystopian. You're not a utopian guy. You're like, I want the fucking end of everything.
Well, who doesn't? I want it all. I want it all. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really heard any really great conspiracies lately. Like, I keep wanting to make a fake YouTube video about myself. Like, here's one of my self-promo ideas. I want to make a fake Illuminati video about myself, but like connecting me to like, you know, George Soros' Muslim takeover of the world or whatever.
Oh, God.
Well, then there's this evidence now that you're going to do that, so.
It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. There's just so much shit out there.
No one will ever listen to this.
No one will listen to this.
Or maybe someone will, but then again, I could be like, no, this is a false flag. This is a false flag event. And
that wasn't me.
That wasn't me who made that video. I never would have made that video. Like, someone's trying to set me up.
You could even go as far as saying that wasn't even me on the show.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. I don't think anyone will be fooled, though.
I don't know. I'm pretty good with, changing vocals.
Well, hey, good, because, I'm sure I said something, I didn't, because normally I would never start an interview off on such a negative note. I mean, that's not me.
Me neither. Sorry about that.
Oh God.
Well, looks like we're getting about to an hour. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to bring up?
Check out my podcast. You can download my new album Death Drive for free on my website or in my Bandcamp. I'm really psyched that this is like a vegan anarchist podcast, to be honest. I wasn't 100% sure that this was a vegan thing until I was like reading it, because a bunch of my friends were always like, "Oh, you got to get on the Which Side podcast." And I'm like, well, I'm not going to invite myself on. But I'm glad. I'm glad to thank for having me on the show.
And we do gladly anyone invite yourself on. We're totally open with that.
But I guess the reason why it made me psyched is because I don't know a lot of vegan anarchists. Most of the people I know who are involved in, organizing work, in the struggle against the state or capitalism or however you want to phrase it, very few of them are vegan. And to me, it always felt to me like I shouldn't be talking about animals when people are being killed by cops and pushed out of their homes. And then I went to that resistance ecology conference, and it was just all about like vegan intersectionality and animal rights, and really, really kind of rekindled how important it is to be vegan, and I think what happened with a lot of like the animal rights stuff in the 90s, or, a lot of like newly converted vegans have a tendency, or have had a tendency to kind of be assholes to people and not be that approachable. And, nice shoes, dude, you're a vegan. Well, your cell phone's not, or like, and like, I think there's a time and place for that shit. But a lot of times, like I encounter so many people who are like surprised that I'm a vegan because I'm not an asshole. And vegans have this, stereotype that we're always like shaking our fingers at people. And I'm, I like the way y'all approach veganism. It's friendly. So I think that's important.
I've just turned from shaking at other people to shaking at other vegans, being like, shut the fuck up.
For real.
I just do it all in my head.
Jeez. Yeah, I just do it to myself. I'm just like, dude, you're really not a vegan if you're eating that hamburger right now. And I'm like, shut up. Totally kidding.
Oh, well, fuck. It's been a lot of fun, and sorry about the troubles at the beginning, but I think it turned out well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And, have a nice day, and maybe I'll see y'all in Salt Lake City sometime.
Hey, but would you, before we go, would you mind saying fuck shit damn for us?
Sorry, I don't cuss. No. Fuck shit down. I said fuck like 1,000 times in this interview, though. So you're going to get like the triple explicit.
Well, I'm all about the 3 X's.
Well, there you go.
Okay, have a good one.
Hey, peace, y'all. Thank you.
This week you heard
The Teaching of Cube by Soul.
Right now you're listening to
Don't Riot by Soul. iTunes. It's amazing how much we need ratings and reviews to get pulled up on searches. That's why we need people to do it. So if you want people to be able to find the podcast easily, and by typing the word, say, vegan in the search bar,
or vegan anarchist,
or anarchist, or any of these search terms that you could think of to bring up which side without looking for which side, we need ratings and reviews to get popped up. What has happened is that iTunes is filled with really old shit from a long time ago that has a lot more ratings than like we do. So if you type in the word vegan, you'll have podcasts that stopped publishing in 2007 way higher than us, only because they had more reviews than us. This is why it's important. So please.
We promise to never stop.
I don't want to say never, But I mean, we're going on 2 years, and we're going strong here. Of every week we give you a new episode. I hope you enjoy some of them.
We will never stop.
He's probably true. I find this very fun, so we probably won't stop. So just go to iTunes, rate and review us. Steal someone's phone, rate and review us on their phone. It's pretty simple.
And if you can't do that, just tell your friends about it. Share it on social media and let us know.
It helps us out tremendously. Everything you guys do for us. And we love you all of you. Even you, the person right now that's not actually going to do it. I still love you. Being kind of a jerk, but I still love you.
If we're not friends yet, also follow us on social media. You can go to whichsidepodcast.com, click on the social tab, and you'll find a lot of things that we post about on there that we don't talk about on the show. So be our friend.
Fuck shit damn, man.
Fuck shit damn.
Which Side Podcast is hosted and produced by Jordan Halliday and Jeremy Parkin of the Which Side Media Collective, with web design by Jordan Halliday and sound design by Jeremy Parkin. Booking by Mari Halliday. Theme music by Commandantes. Go to whichsidecollective.org to check out the other shows in the collective. As always, fuck shit damn.